Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
To be able to get in the college football playoff. Of the 3 games I mentioned, if they win at least one of those, guess what? They'll finish 10-2, and they'll be in the college football playoff without fail. So I think when it all comes down to it, that's really what this is about, team success as much as it is individual success. And if Arch has this team playing well and winning 10 games, I think the Heisman numbers are going to be there to back that up just based off of the offense that they play and how they move the football.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Over a full season, is he going to be Mike Piazza? No, of course not. But I think he's going to be a guy who can help your team here. My only problem really with Alvarez is this, as Craig and I have talked about so many times, catcher is deep. If you're in a 2-catcher league, by the way, please, for the love of God, I never understood why anybody plays in 2-catcher leagues. But in a 1-catcher league, who's the catcher you're dropping?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh here as we are live on deadline day in Major League Baseball with the NFL back in the mix. The Hall of Fame game between the Detroit Lions and the LA Chargers. We will have you covered on our show tonight, and it appears that deals are still trickling in a little bit throughout this show, so we will get to all of the news here on this Thursday night. The Major League Baseball board right now only offered up 3 games today. The Yanks put away the Tampa Bay Rays. Reds-Braves starts in about 40 minutes, and then it's late night Seattle, Texas. We will get to that. We have a game in the WNBA, and the main event is certainly the Hall of Fame game. What I want to do is give everyone the best bets, because we're going to talk a lot of deadline here and things that have changed. But if you're looking to bet on tonight's slate, here's what we're doing, our crew in the back as well. Yarnell goes WNBA, lays the 4.5 with the Mystics against the Valkyries. I don't mind that. I don't mind fading this Golden State team as they continue to play more and more on the road. I know they just beat Atlanta. I think that's even more reason to like the Mystics. Chris goes to the Chargers to record a passing touchdown. Book's looking to offer up some props to give you more and more options for the Hall of Fame game. I think there's tangible buzz in betting this game tonight, and I'm going to bet it as well. I love the Lions -1.5. And you might be like, Kev, you can't love a side in a Hall of Fame game. Wrong. I love a side in the Hall of Fame game. I actually have grown to really enjoy betting preseason NFL action. I think it's fun. I think you can find your angles. You got to know when to zig and zag. The reason for loving Detroit, and we'll get more and more into this, but I think you have a huge quarterback advantage Detroit's way. A lot of this comes down to the quarterback play, right? So it's going to be Nate Sudfeld and Hendon Hooker largely getting the reps there for the Lions. Trey Lance will start the first half for the Chargers. I've seen in some places people view that the Lance half will be edge LA. Disagree. Trey Lance, it didn't work out. And I will happily go against him in the first half. And then it is DJU of Clemson fame, of Florida State fame. I don't know how many people remember the Oregon State games, but That DJU playing likely the entire second half. I am all in on the Lions on top of that because I think Dan Campbell is out to prove a lot this season with the departures of Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And you might think it's ridiculous that Dan Campbell would see the Hall of Fame game as a time to start to prove that this team is moving forward in a positive fashion. I might even agree with you. But ask yourself if that sounds like something Dan Campbell would believe. I think so. I'm laying the 1.5 with the Detroit Lions. I think they should be a field goal favorite, quite frankly, in this Hall of Fame game. I think they're going to be in the mix. Speaking of in the mix, deadline day. What were the biggest deals that we saw? The biggest deal was Mason Miller getting traded to the San Diego Padres, who entered into this deadline as one of the most fascinating teams without question. This is a Padres team who just swept the Mets and entered into the deadline on a 5-game win streak. And you have to wonder if that changed some things with this ball club. This was a team we had heard for a while were rumored to be open to trading Dylan Cease. He's not dealt. Open to trading Robert Suarez, who leads Major League Baseball with 30 saves. He's not dealt. When the deal went down for Mason Miller and J.P. Sears from the Athletics, the idea was, obviously these guys are being dealt. Not at all. The Padres are looking to attack this season full force. They think J.P. Sears can be the final man at the back end of that rotation, and they believe that Mason Miller, paired with Robert Suarez, gives them arguably the most dangerous 1-2 punch in the back of a bullpen that this league has to offer. And when you're looking up and you're trying to chase a Dodger team that has still felt a little more vulnerable as we go on and on this season, I understand that the Dodgers at 63 wins are right there for one of the best records in the bigs. I understand that. They're only 3 up on the Padres. There are, at the moment, 4 teams in Major League Baseball with a better record than the Dodgers. They have not yet extended, pulled away. Yesterday, Ohtani leaves the mound with a trainer. I understand he continued to hit. Do you think Ohtani makes his next start? I don't. I mean, we'll see. And again, makes his next start. Good for him. He's an opener. He'll pitch an inning, maybe 2. There's been shaky ground on the Dodgers. So for the Padres going for it, that's fine. Yet I find myself looking at this deal and one of the very few times asking myself, it might be a little much. It might be a little much. I usually disregard prospects. They come and go. They get hyped up. They can't miss. Oh, this is the best player in the world, but he's 2 years away from big league ball. Wait a minute, 1 more year away. Okay, now he's up. Whoops, he's hitting 250. All right, hold on. He's just a little bit, he's a little injured. It's okay, it's okay. And it all falls apart. The element of this Padres trade that I do not like is the conundrum they've seemingly put themselves in with Mason Miller. As the Padres traded away the number 3 overall prospect in Major League Baseball, they feel that in doing this, they might have to make Mason Miller a starting pitcher. DeVry and all of the upside, and it's why the Athletics did this, is seen as so valuable, the Padres probably don't feel confident that their return is a high-level closer. Now, I think they should be fine with that. The Padres, as much as any team in the history of this sport, should understand the value of a reliable high-level closer. Shout out Trevor Hoffman. But it seems as if they're not sure that Mason Miller, the closer, is enough for what they gave up. So now we have to figure out, is Mason Miller, the starter, reliable? Well, that's as much of a question as, is DeVry going to be a future perennial all-star in the bigs? What are you doing? If you don't It's as if the Padres already knew there would be noise on that's a lot to give up for a closer, and they're already now getting out in front of it. They're like, all right, hold on. We can kind of do this now. We'll compete this year, and then maybe everyone's right, so we'll make him a starter. Believe in yourself. Believe in the deal. Or don't do the deal. And just actually trade Suarez and trade Cease and take your time. I appreciate aggressiveness. But, there's only so many times this team can go all in, trade for Juan Soto, and then all of a sudden Juan Soto's gone. And then go all in and trade for Mason Miller, but all of a sudden then what was supposed to be a coveted piece of this franchise for maybe a decade is gone. Interesting spot for the San Diego Padres. We'll be talking plenty of deadline here on this Thursday night, but we turn our attention to the Hall of Fame game next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions with you on a Thursday night. There's some news in the NFL coming out that Terry McLaurin is requesting a trade out of Washington. We'll get to that in a little bit. If it does come to fruition and they're open, could a team like the LA Chargers be listening? I think it's on the board. Let's talk a little more Chargers with Alex Insdorf, who joins the show here, host of Bolt Breakdown. And Alex, I appreciate you making some time here with the Hall of Fame game tonight. I just want to start. Maybe this McLaurin news becomes nothing, but it has been an interesting offseason for the Chargers in the wide receiver room because you had the retirement of Mike Williams. If I'm not mistaken, Keenan Allen's still out there, so maybe they tried to get the band back together. Part one didn't work. Maybe they tried part two. Maybe they go big game hunting if this Terry McLaurin stuff is real.
Yeah, certainly something that I think they could happen. This is a team that will, wait until August, see if there's moves available, like the Elijah Molden trade for their safety room last year. So I think there's always stuff like that they could wait for. For now, I think they're kind of fine waiting with their wide receiver room, despite the Mike Williams retirement. That was a guy that I think they were expecting, to contribute to their wide receiver room this year, not someone that, we're getting 1,000-yard Mike Williams, right, at this stage of his career. And they have a lot of confidence in Trey Harris, Counter Lambert-Smith, who will both play tonight as rookies who will step up in that room, and obviously Ladd McConkey, and now Quentin Johnston with Mike Williams' retirement is kind of their starting X-receiver, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, so when we look at the team that they have in front of them, Alex, I think there's a lot of excitement for this football team. I have wondered a little bit if there's enough excitement around Amarion Hampton. There's some weirdness with Najee Harris that could allow the UNC rookie to get a lot of the carries right away for LA. What have you seen and heard around Amarion Hampton at camp?
Yeah, nothing but positive so far. And I think even going into camp as recently as minicamp in June, Harbaugh was asked, hey, how do you evaluate Harris and Hampton? And he said, his quote was, as Marie Harbaugh says, 2 peas in a pod. So at that point, already early on, he had them as, 1A, 1B. And now with this Najee Harris injury, Omarion's going to get some extended time, not extended time this preseason, but he walks into the season most likely as the de facto RB1. And that was something that I think we could have seen happen anyway, maybe. But especially with the uncertainty around Najee's injury, I do think that is the situation he's walking into.
I'm curious, Alex, what you've seen from the offensive line. I think it's one of the strengths of this group. I think, we see these offensive line lists. I think occasionally the Chargers are too low because the combination of Slater and Alt is about as good as it gets. And the Mekhi Becton addition, I think they should be really excited about the step he took forward as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. What are you seeing from this offensive line in camp?
Yeah, I think with Mekhi Becton and Joe Alt in particular, that right side, whenever they pull, it's just like two mountains standing next to each other. You have these two 6'8", 6'9" guys. Slater on the other side, great that they got that contract extension done. I think the uncertainty around the line and why people around the league might be a little bit lower on the Chargers compared to some of the top offensive lines in the league is Bradley Bozeman and the center competition, him, Zion Johnson, and potentially Andre James competing for that center spot. And then at left guard, I think there's some uncertainty. Zion Johnson coming off of a down year, unfortunately, former first-round pick in 2022. Is he going to start there, or could be a backup like Jamari Salyer getting that job? So I think the interior, and that's sort of what they're hoping to see tonight, is someone like Zion Johnson taking a step forward for that center job. So that uncertainty on the interior, but everything else on the offensive line, the right guard spot with Becton and your 2 tackle spots, that's set up very well.
Yeah, I think it's one of the main selling points for me on this Chargers team entering into this season. The defense, it's not star-studded, right? They lose Joey Bosa, but you still have Khalil Mack, you still have Derwin James. But last year they were great in year one of Harbaugh. Do you think that those are still the expectations heading in to this season?
Yeah, they should still be the expectations. Whether they'll get the same results, I'm not sure, right? Being at number 1, number 2 defense. And I always think defensive rankings are a little bit about who you play. And they had some competition last year against some pretty weak teams. They were definitely favored with a better schedule because of where they finished in 2023. But this will definitely be a step up for them, but I think with what Jesse Minter has been able to get out of this group before, even without stars, kind of as you note, I think that this is kind of only going to continue to be positive as far as their developments. I am a little bit concerned about the Joey Bosa piece of this. Just how do they replace him? They drafted Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina, so that's going to be a name to watch tonight also. As far as how can he compete in the edge room and make his presence felt. But overall, I still think they have the pieces in place for a pretty good defense. I think whether their ceiling is like top 2 defense like last year, or is it in that 10 15 range. Like that's, I think, kind of the question. But so far, all the questions have been answered to this point. I just think it's a schedule difference between the seasons and a slight change in personnel. But if you get the offensive improvement that you expect with Omarion and Trey Harris and all those guys, then I think that, they're hoping that offense, I think, certainly offsets, what they've lost on defense a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, before we let you go, only about 30 seconds, is there a guy you're watching for tonight's Hall of Fame game?
Watching a lot of Trey Harris, Omarion Hampton, they'll get a couple drives, and then I would like to see a lot of Kamani Vidal and Aronde Gadsden, who will both play a lot. Aronde Gadsden, their fifth-round tight end out of Syracuse, has been making a lot of plays at camp, and I think he's going to get a lot of run tonight and a chance to show what he can do in this offense very early on.
All right, fantastic. Alex, we appreciate it. Enjoy the Hall of Fame game tonight.
You too.
All right, great stuff there from Alex Insdorf helping us out, talking a little Chargers here. And for anyone that was, with us yesterday, with us on Tuesday, one of those teams that I'm considering when we're talking about that Super Bowl market. There's elements of this team, and the price correlates where there's a case to be made. There's a case to be made. And look, the favorite for McLaurin is staying a Commander, but the Chargers made a phone call. That'd be something. Let's talk more deadline day next.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try Blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Her and Howard at the 2-3 are extremely dangerous. But it's playoffs. And it's defense, and it's rebounding. You know the game. Offense exciting. Defense wins games. Rebounds win championships. Well, they got BG and Brianna Jones at that 4-5 combination.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Tiger used to really annoy me because all he did was win, and I was like, gosh, I just want to see some drama. I want to see Phil challenge him. I want to see some magic down the stretch and have Tiger pull it out in miracle-like fashion, like Rory just did at the Masters, when something is really compelling like that. Scotty sucks the drama right out of the golf tournament as well. He just doesn't do it with all the panache.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I like Payton. I like Jeremy Payton. I think he's a nice player, but really, look at this offense. You're shocked that they win games 2-1. I mean, they're an under machine. Solid pitching, even though Hector Staff's on the injured list still. The bullpen's solid, and they can't hit a lick. They average what? It seems like they average 3 runs a game, but somehow they run off 10 in a row. They're 10 games under, and then they're 20 games over 500. How does this team do it? That's just in them, though.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you on a Thursday night. Light card here tonight. Hall of Fame game. I'm in the mix. I really like the Lions tonight. I really, really do. I laid the 1.5. We're going to talk some more NFL throughout our show. I really want to get more into this McLaurin piece. I want to put it on the back burner, though, because I do want to give the deadline a little more time, a little more due, okay? And we talked to Mason Miller, and it's obviously really, really interesting. One of the big surprises to me of this deadline was Shane Bieber being dealt to the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are a team who I feel like they lack anything that you could really argue is an ace. I don't think you can still make those cases for Scherzer and Gausman, right? But what they do now have, and Shane Bieber continues to fit this mold, they have guys that on a given day could be awesome. Like, realistically, let's just go to a Toronto, Detroit Tigers ALCS, and they throw skewball, the Detroit Tigers, right? Realistically, nobody is throwing someone on skewball's level. That's fine. But you go Flaherty to Gauss or Flaherty to Max Scherzer. Let's see, right? You go to, Casey Mize to Jose Barrios. Okay, maybe we have that there. You go Shane Bieber to, Louis Heel, right, who may be a Yankees number 3. The Blue Jays, it's as if they are seeing where can they just get a bunch of upside guys, and not upside in the way that we usually discuss, like 23-year-old, maybe becomes a really good guy, but guys that we've seen occasionally have great stuff, and can they just have great stuff for a run? That's what they're trying to do here in a way, and it's a really interesting approach from Toronto, right? Like Shane Bieber, for me, I know it was a stunner because Shane Bieber made 2 starts for the Guardians a season ago, was awesome in those 2 starts. Out for the year, has not played yet. Now he's been starting to get it together. Like, the Blue Jays didn't trade for a guy who is projected to not play this year. But also, I don't really know how reliable Shane Bieber is. And I think that's just such a fascinating thing for a team right now with the top spot in the American League. The Mariners trying to make their inroads. Midnight, they trade for Eugenio Suarez. They had already traded for Josh Naylor. The reality with this Mariners team is they have always had a pitching staff that people get excited about. Can the offense catch up? Can the offense get there? Well, they have an MVP candidate in Cal Raleigh. They had Suarez and Naylor. Randy Arozarena's been hot. And Julio Rodriguez still has all of this upside. So now there's elements to Seattle that you can get really in on, right? The trick, though, for the Mariners, and I think some of the tricky aspects right now for if you're trying to be a buyer on the Rangers or the Red Sox, it's the gap right now within the top of the division. The Mariners are 5 back of the Astros. I don't think they're catching Houston. I know 5 isn't insurmountable heading into August, but I think Houston's better than them. I still do. I think Houston bringing in Carlos Correa is a nice move. It wouldn't surprise me if Correa plays his best ball of the season with the Astros. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. It's a Houston team that needs to get healthy, but fully healthy, assuming that version at some point exists with Jeremy Pena, Altuve, Correa, Yordan Alvarez, remember him? Cam Smith, some of the youngsters that they have. Can that all materialize for Houston? I think so. And I think Houston being a 62-win team right now with all the injuries they've dealt with is why I think they really should be the favorites within the American League. Really, really interesting day for the AL overall, but I don't think anyone did anything where you go, boom, okay, team to beat. That didn't happen. That did not happen. Not in my eyes. Maybe someone would try and push back on that. I don't think the odds would push back on that at all. Still plenty more to talk here with the deadline. Still plenty more to talk with Terry McLaurin. It's Game Time Decisions.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try Blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
Her and Howard at the 2-3 are extremely dangerous. But it's playoffs. And it's defense. And it's rebounding. You know the game. Offense exciting. You know, defense wins games. Rebounds win championships. Well, they got BG and Brianna Jones at that 4-5 combination.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Tiger used to really annoy me because all he did was win, and I was like, gosh, I just want to see some drama. I want to see Phil challenge him. I want to see some magic down the stretch and have Tiger pull it out in miracle-like fashion, like Rory just did at the Masters, you know, when something is really compelling like that. Scotty sucks the drama right out of the golf tournament as well. He just doesn't do it with all the panache.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I like Payton. I like Jeremy Payton. I think he's a nice player, but really, look at this offense. You're shocked that they win games 2-1. I mean, they're an under machine. Solid pitching, even though half their staff's on the injured list still. The bullpen's solid, and they can't hit a lick. They average what? It seems like they average like 3 runs a game. But somehow they run off 10 in a row. They're 10 games under, and then they're 20 games over 500. Like, how does this team do it? That's just in them, though.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions with you right here on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you. 10 minutes away from the start of Reds-Braves. The team here decided a 1-2-3 triple threat on a Thursday. Everyone grabbed a leg. And we went Austin Hayes for the hit-run RBI inside this game here. Now, all right. Realistically, let's be real, okay? What actually happened is Yarnell wanted to give out Austin Hayes for a home run. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing it. I'm not. So, because of that, okay, we took it down to a hit-run RBI. That's what we did. I like the Reds in this game. I wanted to bet Andrew Abbott to record the win. I didn't see that, though, at least where I was looking. Because I was looking over on DK. They usually have that market. If someone out there sees that on, a different book somewhere, just to give me an idea what that price is, you can let me know. But I think Andrew Abbott's in a good spot to record the win here. I think it's a good spot for the Cincinnati Reds. And the reality with, and by the way, we can just pop that up again just to mention, that's 2+ hit-run RBI, or no, it's 1 hit-run RBI for Austin Hayes. It's both teams to score 2 in Mariners Rangers. The odds for that leg are off, but that's what the bet is, both teams to score 2, okay? And then I went under 23.5 games. So the other day, Yarnell took over 20.5 games in the Zverev match, right? Gets there, though, with only 2 sets. I'm doing all these things, right? Okay? Now, that's kind of a luck box type of thing. That's not usual that would happen. So, we go under the 23.5. Zverev straight sets. This is free. Whoa! I'd like it under 22.5 -130. Sneaky best bet, tennisman. I'm just saying. I've never actually played tennis before. To be honest with you. I've never played it. I don't even know if I've ever swung a tennis racket in my life. Is that weird? I don't think I've ever swung a tennis racket. I mean, I look pretty good. I look like I got it. I'm like, wow! You know what I mean? I got it. I've watched some of the viral Kygros videos. That's definitely how you say that last name. I don't know. Am I Mr. Tennis? No. But honestly, I think it's really sharp. I think it's really, really sharp. Also, here's the intel. New trend alert. Sound the alarm. Casino Chris. Look, he's crazy. We're it's deadline day. So, okay, here's reality. Chris is nuts. I love him, but he's crazy. And he loves being able to give the people a pick, and he really hopes he can give you a winner every day. So Tuesday, he's red hot on the both teams to score 3 runs in Brewers-Cubs. He writes down Brewers-Cardinals. I said it on air without even blinking like 3 times. So really the fix was in. He makes me look a little silly. That's fine. All right? But it was a winner. So again, we do the triple threat play. Be honest, he wrote it wrong. Again, that's on him. That's 100% blame pie Chris. Nobody else. I don't even know how he did that because he was the one all pre-show. Like, what's the triple threat? At first I went, you know what I mean? I showed him what it was. Catch, pass, dribble, shoot. So he writes it wrong. It's remarkable. But it's 2+ for each team. I don't know. The odds for that are like -205. The parlay's +202. I think it's a winner, actually. I think it's a winner. Crafting, shaping. I mean, but I'll say this. Not the easiest to follow bet we've ever given the people. Some of it looks wrong. One of the guys didn't even agree to the leg we assigned him. And then I gave out a tennis pick. So, shout out Matteo Arnaldi. Honestly, that thing could reverse chalk. Could be 0 for 3. Can't rule it out. Speaking of the Reds, I have one pick in to win the World Series. Big time Cincinnati Reds preseason. And Cincinnati, I've been frustrated by because, they've struggled mightily in one-run games. They're bad in extra innings. They still haven't been swept, but it's not resulted in them being, a 60-win team. But I feel like there's still a lot of talent on this Cincinnati Reds roster. And at 57 and 52, the Cincinnati Reds still agree. They went in, not out. They brought in Brian Hayes. They bring in Zach Littell. This is a Reds team who feel if they can get in, they can make noise. And I agree with that. Now, that's going to be hard to do because it would be stunning if the Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, and Cubs were not all in the postseason. It would be stunning if all 4. So there's only 2 spots left. And one of those teams is not even, actually, 2 of those teams aren't in first place in their division in the Phillies and Cubs. So you have a Reds team who right now would need to hunt down the Padres. We already talked about the Padres went on a 5-game win streak, and instead of selling off Cease and Suarez, bought Sears and Miller. And people thought, oh, maybe they're going to get Miller and Sears in and then trade. No, they just kept the whole thing. So for Cincinnati, it's a tough spot that they are in. But they're in the mix. The reality is, though, for myself, when you have one World Series ticket in and it's in the 100-1 range, you have wiggle room to get back into the market. Now, I've wondered, would I get back into the market once the bracket's set? In season, I feel like there are teams still catching my eye. There are prices catching my eye. Because I started this season, one of the reasons I played the Reds is I wanted a huge number to justify not betting, to basically show respect to the Dodgers. I wasn't going to take the team with the second or third or fourth best odds because that's how much better the Dodgers felt to me than everyone else. The Dodgers have not felt like that in a very long time. And there's already a randomness to baseball that you factor in, and the Dodgers feel vulnerable in a way that I was not anticipating as we leave the deadline. Heck, the Dodgers, the MO, and our guy Donnie Rightside always makes this point, and many others, but yeah, the Dodgers are good now. Wait for the deadline when they make the big move, right? Like, it feels like usually in deadlines past, it would be the Dodgers that added Eugenio Suarez and Mason Miller. Like, that's usually the Dodgers. That didn't happen here. They made some moves, right? But they didn't make a huge swing. So could it be time to get some value here in this World Series market? Could there be a case to be made on Seattle, Milwaukee, San Diego? Maybe. Boston. Maybe. We'll talk about it a little bit more and continue to get you ready for the Hall of Fame game here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live with you on a Thursday night. We've got the Reds and the Braves starting. In about 15 minutes, you'll get Mystics and Valkyries to start. Yarnell went to the Washington side for a best bet in that game, laying the number. I don't mind the look at all. A reminder, Chris is going to go for a passing touchdown from the Chargers. I really like the Lions in the Hall of Fame game, and I'm not, like, that's not a bit. You can't fake this stuff. We never fake it, but I'm just saying, people might be like, oh, come on, it's a Hall of Fame game. No way you really like that? Nope, I really like the Lions. I really do. I think Dan Campbell really cares. I think he really wants to show people this season that he's fine, whether Ben Johnson is there or not. And I also think Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld is significantly better than what you're going to be getting from the Chargers in Trey Lance and DJU. I think 1.5 is a great number. I really like the Lions. We'll talk some football with our next guest momentarily, but I do want to start in the world of Major League Baseball. That's Adam Kaufman. You can catch him here across the SportsGrid network. Does a great job, especially when he's in the in-game live slot. I really want to make a point to highlight some of the previews that you and Brady have been doing for the NFL season. I think those are really valuable, getting people set for that stuff as well. And we will get to some football when we can, Adam. But today's Major League Baseball deadline, it came with some more pop than we thought. There were some other elements, though, that were a little bit quieter. And I mentioned the Dodgers being a little bit quiet. And in some ways, not that they were sellers, but they trade Dustin May for a prospect from the Boston Red Sox. Boston, I'm sure, at this point looks up and says, hey, why not? What did you make of the day Boston had here as we are now going to be in the stretch run and see who can make the postseason?
Yeah, I think as it comes down to the Red Sox, and let's also remember they just added Steven Matz as well. I realize this is not, Joe Ryan. This is not Merrill Kelly. This is not even Taj Bradley or some of these other guys that either moved or were rumored to move. But, Matz first, you get a lefty in who had some success with the Cardinals this year, and then obviously Dustin May today, just before the deadline. It's a lot of, okay, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call the Red Sox winners at the trade deadline. I wouldn't necessarily say they were losers either. I think they just sort of threaded that needle where they were all right. And I guess, maybe this is semantics. If you want to just say they were all right for a team that is currently sitting in a wild card spot and 5 games out of first in the American League East, then maybe they were trade deadline losers, because it just feels like, you needed, they helped themselves to a degree, bringing in a guy like Dustin May, who, as we know, really key contributor for the Dodgers back in 2020 in helping them to the World Series win back in the COVID-shortened baseball season. But in recent years, the last 4 years, has barely pitched, about 100 total innings across those years. And this year has not been good. High walk rate, high home run rate. Ironically enough, the last start that he made a few days ago was in Boston when the Red Sox kind of lit him up, and I'm sure looked at it and said, we got to go get that guy. But he's capable, right? He's a capable starting pitcher that the bottom line is depth is really, really important no matter which team you are this time of year, especially if you hope to go on a deep playoff run. And that is paramount among pitchers, especially starting pitchers. And so if you're looking at a guy like Dustin May and saying, is he great? Is he a 1 through 3 even in your rotation? No, not really. But is he better than Walker Buehler, his old teammate, has been? Is he better than Richard Fitz has been? The answer is probably yes. So in a sense, they upgraded, just not nearly enough for a fan base that really hoped to, again, hear about a guy like Joe Ryan changing teams or Merrill Kelly changing teams.
It is interesting how Boston, maybe the biggest trade that's actually happened all baseball season, was Boston trading away Rafael Devers. And, we pick our heads up following this deadline. The Giants are under 500, traded away a couple of guys. It's Boston being competitive. So I think to some degree there's probably a bit of a win in that alone. It's now, can the Red Sox make good on what still feels to me, Adam, like an up-for-grabs American League? Because I think Detroit's shown cracks. The Yankees don't deserve to be favorites for anything. Toronto adding Shane Bieber is interesting, but not a guarantee of anything. It's up for grabs, right? I think Boston, they feel the same way a lot of teams do in years past. As long as they get one of those available seats, I think they'd feel good about their chances of making a run.
I agree with you. I mean, there are a lot of teams atop the American League that you can look at. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of them. Toronto, to me, has, despite the record, been somewhat fraudulent. Everybody and their mother believed in the Detroit Tigers, and then they obviously go on that huge slide where they dropped 12 out of 13 spanning the All-Star break there, and they went out, they added, Charlie Morton, they added, who else? Chris Paddock, and, it's, again, fine, but not like substantial additions that you feel like put you over the hump. Seattle, honestly, is probably the team in the American League that we should be taking the most seriously. And anyone that invested in them over the last couple of weeks, as I saw a lot of people in the industry doing, just anticipating that they were going to be in this fight for the long run, you got a much better number than people could invest in and get now. So I think that was justifiable. This was a throwback trade deadline, man. This felt like a trade deadline in the NBA kind of thing with all the movement that we saw around the league. I can't remember a trade deadline in Major League Baseball that was this active with as many substantial names changing teams. But now it's okay. Everything has happened. Tonight will be what it is. There's only a couple of games tonight purposefully, but tomorrow, after we kind of, some of the dust starts to settle, a lot of the new players probably won't be in uniform for their new teams, but you get into the weekend at that point, some of these teams can start to get off and running.
Yeah, I think you've got, again, it feels, I really did think at the beginning of the season, it was like, this is just going to feel obvious Dodgers until they're down 3-1. And it already doesn't feel like that, and I think it leaves things up for grab. We're going to have Adam stick around. I want to get his thoughts on the Hall of Fame game if he's getting involved at all. And also, is there a Terry McLaurin team that jumps off? Look, not that Adam can't talk everything outside of the Boston, New England area, but my goodness, would the Patriots' outlook be a lot different if Terry McLaurin was their number one wide receiver instead of pretending anybody actually trusts Stephon Diggs.
Joaquin Neiman wins for the 5th time on the LIV Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point? Probably, maybe 10. So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry's our guy who sends me LIV stats every week.
I love that you get LIV stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sadiq Bey coming off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So, and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kevon Looney off the bench. So, to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them, but I'm going to say it. Fly Pelican! 7-1. Fly Pelican! Fly Pelican fly! 7-1? What's the...
So, here's why JY is great, because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? When did I don't remember that one. JY.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
So I drafted Aaron Jones in my Dynasty League, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, when you play in a Dynasty League, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 1138. So he's going to drop down by almost 50% not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets, I'll take the over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions is back here on a Thursday night. If you're an Eagle fan, just the Eagle fans, or if you dislike the Commanders, the comment section on the Terry McLaurin trade from the Adam Schefter tweet, good jokes in there. That's all I'm saying. Good jokes in there. One of them was, you know what, Hurts could use a wide receiver 3. Why not? I really appreciated that one. Terry McLaurin today, by the way, was actually given a higher Madden rating than A.J. Brown, which is atrocious and indefensible, quite frankly. So shout out Madden for that one there. We're with Adam Kaufman So the most important takeaway of the McLaurin thing is, even if he doesn't get traded, this now feels like Terry McLaurin not playing week 1 against the Giants is as likely as him actually playing in that football game. And you miss one, maybe you miss another. The Commanders cannot afford for Terry McLaurin to be missing games here, Adam. That's the biggest problem to me. This is bad for Washington.
This is not a McLaurin problem. I know it'll be framed as one because of obviously the financial situation that is tied to it. He's getting a base contract of $15.5 million in 2025, and the scuttlebutt of it all is he wants $30 million plus a season. He's going to turn 30 in a couple of months. So look, he's looking for his payday after a career year. He's gone for 1,000 plus receiving yards, 5 straight years, went off for 13 touchdowns, I think it was, last season. I mean, he was such a clear number one, the guy for Jaden Daniels in that incredible rookie year that the quarterback had, that, I think that McLaurin is trying to capitalize. I mean, look, he's going to be viewed as, hey, not a team guy. What are you trying to do? Blow this thing up. But he's trying to get his, which I can understand, especially in a career that historically is short for football players. I mean, hell, average guys out of the league inside, 2 years, let alone doing what he's doing right now and is, poised to do for the years to come. But the Commanders here have to strike, and they know they have to strike. You mentioned the Eagles, who did what they did last year, and it was an incredible season. But as we've rehearsed and recited so many times, it has been more than 2 decades now since the same team has won consecutive years in the NFC East. It just doesn't happen. I don't know, entering the year, really how you could look at anyone other than Philadelphia, but if you're the obvious team is Washington, and if they make this move and McLaurin goes away, there is no obvious team. It is the Eagles to lose with nobody else even, realistically vying for second place. It's like everyone else is trying to not finish at the bottom, especially between Dallas and Washington there, and then, the Giants being what they are. This division is ripe for the taking, I believe, if you're the Commanders, to build off what you did last year. But that comes with paying McLaurin his money. I'm sure you have looked at this depth chart for Washington, and it is about as bad as you can imagine when it comes to pass catchers. Consider this. Deebo Samuel, they've added, fine, but was a shell of himself last year. Around Deebo, Jalen Lane, Chris Moore, Luke McCaffrey, KJ Osborne. What are we doing? Washington has to pay this guy, and the only problem for them is McLaurin knows they have to pay him. So he's put them in a tough spot for sure, but he's not going to be traded. He's going to get a contract. Otherwise, it's Washington folding on the season.
Yeah, I will say, to give people an idea of just the recent NFC East voodoo, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and were 10-1. They had just beat the Chiefs and Bills in consecutive games, were off a trip to the Super Bowl, and didn't win the division that year. Because that's how, I don't know, every year someone finds a way. So, and the Eagles' schedule is difficult. I think it's absolutely on the board that Washington wins this division. I really do believe that. But I echo everything Adam said, in that if you do not have McLaurin, that is a very, very tough sell. Adam, I didn't leave you a lot of time, but are you betting this Hall of Fame game tonight? And if so, what?
So I took the Chargers plus the 1.5 in the first half as just honestly a blind tale of a lot of people who I think are smart in the space. I don't do a lot of handicapping of preseason football. Regular season, ask me anything. Preseason, I don't screw around all that much. That being said, I think the over's the play. We're getting a low total like 33 in a game that has cleared the over, which has historically been right around 37 points in 3 straight years, I think it's been. You have some talent out there on the field. Not the starters, but you mentioned the quarterbacks earlier, whether Lance or Hooker, some of these guys, they're good enough to put up points, and that is a very low total.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on it, Adam. We appreciate you making some time. We'll talk to Craig Mish next right here on Game Time Decision.
Joaquin Niemann wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point, probably, maybe 10? So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sadiq Bey come off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kevon Looney off the bench. So to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them. But I'm going to say it. Fly Pelican. 7-1. Fly Pelican. Fly Pelican fly. 7-1. What's the...
Here's why JY is great, because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? When did I don't remember that one. Okay,
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
So I drafted Aaron Jones in my dynasty league, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, when you play in a dynasty league, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 1138. So he's going to drop that down by almost 50% not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets. I'll take the over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions. We are with you here on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. And one of the incredible benefits of being here on SportsGrid is on a day like this, we can turn to one of the most premier baseball reporters for the Miami Marlins there is, in Craig Mish of SportsGrid. Obviously hosts Newswire Daily from 12 to 1:30, so make sure you check that out. Craig, I can only imagine how busy today has been for you, so I won't make this too long on you, and I appreciate you making some time, and I'll get right into it. Sandy Alcantara, at the very beginning of the season, people were like, he'll be traded within 3 weeks. Sandy Alcantara, still in the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, look, Kevin, thanks for having me. I thought that there was a good chance that he'd be traded as well, but kind of as the day went on today, it's just seemed like more and more that the Marlins were sort of more in a hold mode with him than a sell mode. They definitely had teams that were offering players, Kevin, but none of the deals that they were offered, I don't believe, even came close to how they valued the player. And in addition, I think we also have to understand that Alcantara has not had the season that a lot of people thought he would have going into the year. So why would the Marlins accept anything less than what he has been in the past just because he's had a bad few months? My guess is, Kevin, what they'll do is they'll reassess this in the offseason. He'll pitch the final 2 months with the Marlins in August and September. Maybe he'll be part of the future. I certainly hope so. He's been a great part of their past for the last 6-7 years. And then they'll kind of go from there. So, yeah, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, I guess, when I found out that he wasn't going to get traded, which was about an hour before the deadline. At 6 o'clock, I knew I wasn't gonna have anything to do as far as that goes.
How do you think, if at all, Sandy's last 12 innings before the deadline impacted him still being here, where he threw 12 shutout innings? And, you know, I imagine that for the Marlins, if they were maybe wavering on what the price would be, pushed them right back to, no, this could be one of baseball's premier guys.
I think that's a fair point, Kevin. He's also, we have to see his next few starts too. I think he's going to start against Houston next week. He's tinkering even more with some of his pitch usage. He used to be just a straight, more or less, fastball changeup guy. He's now incorporated a lot of his off-speed pitches and curveballs. I don't know if you saw his last start. Honestly, he only threw 5 innings. And what's really been different about him the last couple of starts, even though he's had success, is it's forced higher pitch counts. He's thrown more off-speed pitches, so sometimes hitters will not swing at those curveballs. So instead of just out 1, out 2, out 3, and go sit down, it's 1-0, it's 1-1, it's 2-1, it's 2-2, it's foul balls. So that changes a pitcher too. We'll see if that works for him the rest of the year, or maybe he goes back to the pitcher that he used to be, which is just simply throwing heat a lot along with a devastating changeup. So remains to be seen how it will work out, but probably a better bet for the Marlins to hang on to him and see if he can continue this and then go into the offseason and decide what they want to do.
Yeah, a really, one of the more noteworthy things from where this all started is Sandy is still with Miami. In terms of other news we saw around the day, Craig, and again, I know you're so busy, so I don't know how much you're obviously able to handle some of the other pieces of the deadline day. But the Mason Miller deal, caught a lot of people, I think, by surprise because of Mason Miller not just being dealt, but what ultimately he was dealt for in one of the most heralded prospects in baseball right now. Did you get to hear any reactions around this Miller trade, or obviously just some from your own perspective?
Yeah, the only things that I'll miss out on a little bit are those things that happen right at 6 o'clock. I got to go back and check all of those because I think I may have missed. I did see the Yankees picking up a couple of players in the end, and I saw Mike Yastrzemski got traded too, and Morton. So I don't know. I got to go back. Sometimes I think that happened to me last year. I'm just so locked in, Kevin, that when 6 o'clock comes, I usually done. I shut the phone off. All right, and then I miss a couple things.
Yeah.
Kevin, the Padres are a fascinating group. They seem to be all in kind of every year. They seem to have these prospects to be able to trade every single year. And they're just, honestly perplexing because they haven't won a World Series yet, even by trying and doing these things. Now, the ownership certainly is another conversation to have with the Padres, Kevin, because, their owner, Peter Seidler, who was so championed and loved in San Diego, he passed away. I don't know if things are going to change there a little bit with the family running things. But the one thing that I could say about that team, Kevin, is that they're in the best baseball position to me than maybe any other team in Major League Baseball. And the reason why is because they have no revenue competition in that area. The Chargers are gone. They do have MLS, but there's no NFL. There is no NBA. There's no National Hockey League. And so all of the ad revenue is always going to the Padres, and people sell that place out every day because it's sports and people love sports. They go to games, they go there. So always all in. Does Mason Miller put them over the top and give them a World Series? I don't think so. I think they probably would be honestly better served to trade that prospect for a starting pitcher. But that's the route that they chose to go. And here we are another year where the Padres have unloaded the farm to get another player.
What's fascinating, Craig, is based on what you just said there, I do wonder if internally the Padres agree somewhat because they've already seemingly leaked out like, we might try him as a starter. But that is what makes me a little thrown off by the whole deal. I'll be honest with you, Craig. I'm kind of flippant when it comes to prospects. That might be the Yankee fan in me because every prospect I hear is going to be God's gift to baseball is never that. But Mason Miller as a starter, that's a total unknown. Maybe it works out, but at that point, then just hold on to the prospect.
It was, look, Kevin, I agree. It was weird. Look, again, they operate just way differently than a lot of other teams. Yeah. And, they're sitting on Machado at $350 million and Bogarts at $300 million. And someone's going to have to pay for that eventually, Like those contracts at some point are not going to be good. And is there going to be a new CBA where there's a salary cap involved? It feels like the Padres are just kind of throwing caution to the wind and just saying, hey, let's go for it. I mean, the amount of prospects they've traded through the years is incredible. Credit to the organization that they keep having these guys to trade, but I would think eventually it's going to come up to them. It hasn't quite yet, but we'll see how things operate in San Diego. I've always thought it was a little peculiar they were handing out all that money a few years ago.
I'll ask you this, Craig. Carlos Correa back in Houston. Is that a bigger deal by name, or do you feel like he could actually still make an impact for that team, in the postseason?
They lost Isaac Paredes. It did make some sense to fill in the blanks there. I saw a report that said Correa said he would only go back to Houston, and he's embracing playing third base. So those are all good signs. Kevin, sometimes when players get traded, they get this initial boost. of feeling good, feeling wanted. The clubhouse gets a boost too. I hope it happens for Correa, but I would also acknowledge that I think his best years are long gone. But could he come in and make a big impact for 2 months? Sure, we see it all the time in baseball. Sometimes when players are traded, they're able to re-energize their careers, themselves, and the teams too. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know the answer to that one.
Last one, Craig, for you. And again, I really do appreciate it. Shane Bieber. Should we, is he going to be an ace? What's the idea for Toronto? Do they feel like they just brought in the number one guy for them when they begin a postseason series?
I don't know that Toronto did enough. I'm glad at least Detroit got Morton here at the end. I mean, two teams so starved to go deep into the postseason.
Yeah.
At least Seattle got the memo, and they got Suarez this time around after failing the last few years. But, I mean, Kevin, the Cubs, a little bit, I guess. Detroit, a little bit. Toronto, not much, maybe a little bit too. I mean, what are these teams waiting for? I don't know. I can't indict the 5 teams for not going for it, like the Reds. But these cities just support their teams, and they're so starved. I don't know that Bieber moves the needle for me at all, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's one of those things you could sell yourself on, but you also may not see him. I don't know. Maybe you don't see him till September. And at that point, he can't be your number one guy. Fascinating. Craig, I really appreciate it. Now you can put the phone down and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, Kevin.
Again, make sure you're every single day, Newswire, 12 to 1:30 here on Sports Grid. Craig and the crew do an excellent job with that. We'll be right back here, get you ready for the Hall of Fame game.
All right.
Joaquin Niemann wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point? Probably, maybe 10. So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on Sports Grid.
Sadiq Bey coming off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kevon Looney off the bench. So to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them. But I'm going to say it. Fly Pelican. 7-1. Fly Pelican. Fly Pelican fly. 7-1. Worth it.
Here's why JY is great, because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? I don't remember that one, JY.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
So I drafted Aaron Jones in my dynasty league, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, when you play in a dynasty league, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 1138. So he's going to drop that down by almost 50%, not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets. I'll take the over.
Fantasy sports today, only on Sports Grid.
Terry McLaurin, you are still a Washington Commander. And this is one of the contract situations that felt like it was obviously going to be resolved. I feel that I've personally been able to get a little bit better about getting overly excited, like, oh, this guy could be on the move. I just find that stuff to be interesting. It's not that I'm rooting for anyone to lose a player. It's probably the NBA fan to me. I think player movement is exciting. So McLaurin, Washington, has felt similar to like a non-story. Maybe that's the impact of the Dallas Cowboys paying people as, the game was about to start a couple of years ago between Dallas and Cleveland, right? With Dak Prescott and how late they waited to pay CeeDee Lamb. We've talked about this with Micah Parsons. The Terry McLaurin situation feels like one, though, that could really, really linger here and not actually be all that simple. We've talked about it on the show that Terry McLaurin was quoted as saying he wanted more than DK Metcalf. And that's not some, snap of the finger thing necessarily that's going to happen. DK Metcalf is 2 years younger than Terry McLaurin. I think DK Metcalf before last season would have been seen as better than Terry McLaurin. Terry is coming off of a great season with Jaden Daniels, easily the best of his career because his prior career-high touchdown season was 7, which was a rookie, and that was the only time he ever had more than 5. So to have a 13-touchdown season, you saw the value in that. But if Terry McLaurin, who I'm sure the Commanders want to pay, and I am sure the Commanders, with a rookie-scale quarterback as their starter, have more flexibility to pay, have gotten to the point now where on July 31st, he goes, actually, trade request. This isn't getting done. That is not nothing. It's just not. And there are, I think, some who would suggest, based on Terry's, age and production, that he is asking for money that he's way off from getting. I'll tell you this. We, on the Kevin Walsh show, we did our top 10 wide receivers. I didn't have Terry McLaurin. Chris was the guest on that show. He did not have Terry McLaurin. You could tell us we're wrong. I don't think we're wrong. I don't. Really not at all, quite frankly. You go through the wide receivers. Again, unless you are Madden and you are somehow under the impression that Terry McLaurin is better than A.J. Brown, which is ridiculous. I mean, McLaurin was ranked 6th by Madden. So maybe that's where this all got elevated because Terry today was feeling himself. I also just strongly disagree with that placement. And I think you now have yourself in a situation where Washington, a team that was a part of Kevin 7, possible Super Bowl futures, these are the kind of things that you can't have, right? You're looking for year-over-year improvement. Make no mistake about it. Washington last year gets to the NFC Championship game, and that's great. This team needed to be significantly better to actually be a Super Bowl contender. I said it when Washington beat Tampa Bay. I was like, man, because, look, my confidence is what it is. I was like, man, I hope Philly will get the opportunity to end the Commander season. And people are like, careful what you wish for, careful what you wish for. And then they beat Detroit. And I'm like, perfect. And I'm old enough to remember what everybody thought going into that game. Oh, can Philly score with Washington? Do you think Philly can? I don't know. Do you? 55 points later, 23 scored by the Commanders as they got absolutely rolled up on? You tell me. So is this a Washington team who was way far away? I think so. I do. But there were things that this team could do. They were able to take steps. There were areas where you could see improvement from the secondary behind a full season of Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Sancherl in year number 2, Trey Amos in year number 1, from the continued greatness of Bobby Wagner, who elevates Frankie Louvu beside him, from an offensive line that added Laramie Tunzel and a round 1 pick in Josh Connerly out of Oregon, a team who took a chance on Deebo Samuel as a number 2 weapon, and a team who's mainly was going to be or going to try to bank on Jaden Daniels. I will tell people this. Jaden Daniels has been getting ranked 5th in a lot of these quarterback rankings, and it has bothered me all season long. I'll bring up the podcast again. You can go find the episode from the Kevin Walsh Show. Sam, you see from the Crew Picks, came on and made the first compelling case for me on Jaden Daniels actually being that guy. Like, that good this year. Because guys can take steps year 1 to year 2 at the quarterback position. They don't all stagnate. Now, it's on the board when you have a historic rookie season. You're going to come back to the pack because that's what happened for C.J. Stroud, but it could go the other way. And if Daniels gets another level better, then this Washington team has the potential to be great. But there are certain elements of this team that you look at and it's shaky floors. Because Connerly's not a sure thing. And Bobby Wagner is respectfully 100. And Cliff Kingsbury, like every October, all his offenses seem to fall apart for a little bit. Maybe it wasn't Kyler and the video games. So now if all of a sudden Terry McLaurin's out there, I like the Giants. I like the Giants week 1 if there's no Terry McLaurin. I might like the Giants week 1 anyway. Interesting times in Washington.
Joaquin Neiman wins for the 5th time on the Live Golf Tour. And I don't know how many starts they've had. Is it 9 at this point, probably? Maybe 10? So he's won half the time virtually.
He has, and this is again a stat. Sean Lowry is our guy who sends me live stats every week.
I love that you get live stats every week from.
It's so good.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sadiq Bey come off the bench. Alvarado missed a lot of time. Jordan Hawkins has had his moments. So and remember, they picked out even a guy like Kamon Looney off the bench. So to me, they could be there. You know what? And it's crazy because last year I was so big on them, and now I'm off of them. But I'm going to say it. Fly, Pelican. 7-1. Fly, Pelican. Fly, Pelican, fly. 7-1. What's the?
Here's why JY is great. Because sometimes I almost, it's tough when I sell JY, because now what will happen is, right? I mean, listen, it's the middle of the summer. You know what I mean? And what's going to happen in 2 months from now, JY's going to go, now listen, me and K-Dub love these Pelicans. I'm like, when did I say that? I don't remember that one. JY.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I drafted Aaron Jones in my dynasty league, but he's like my 4th running back, to let you know that people don't really believe in him. And by the way, when you play in a dynasty league, I always play to win this year. I don't worry about next year. I want to win now. Flags fly forever. I'll worry about next year. So, but I got Aaron Jones last year, 1138. So he's going to drop that down by almost 50% not to get this total here. Yeah, I think he gets. I'll take the over.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Hall of Fame game time. Game time decisions here on a Thursday night. The Lions and the Chargers, a couple of teams. Kevin, 7. A couple Super Bowl possibilities. Tell you what, I'll share this with the people. If you right now made me eliminate one team from Kevin 7, it would probably, if you made me do it right now, it would be the Detroit Lions. It would be Detroit. There's elements of this team that are risky that I don't feel as if I'm getting enough for the risk. Again, so the Lions have some similarities to the Philadelphia Eagles, where, hey, we're coming off of a crushing postseason defeat, right? We lost, offensive line talent. Philly had lost Kelsey, right? People talk about coordinator changes. Oh, but the defense could take a big leap. So the positives are, I think the Lions' offensive line could sustain some of the losses more than others. And I think their defense has a chance to actually be wildly better this season. Full season Aiden Hutchinson. I think the secondary takes a step forward. I think that's on the board for Detroit. But the big difference is Ben Johnson is not Brian Johnson. The bad year for Philly saw them fire a coordinator who will not be an offensive coordinator again in Brian Johnson, and the Eagles have been significantly better outside of whatever in the world was going on there. Detroit now goes to a complete unknown with a quarterback who spent 1 season, 2 seasons, without either Ben Johnson or Sean McVay, and has been flatly bad both go-rounds. Now, the first one was his rookie season. You want to give him a pass for that? You probably should give him a pass for that. The other was his first year in Detroit, where he averaged a full yard per less per attempt, where he threw 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. His passer rating, by far the lowest. His QBR, 15, 16, 18 points lower, 23 points lower than this past season. So, and I understand we can debate Hurts all day. I got to be honest with you, though. When it comes to debating Hurts versus Burrow, I get why people are annoyed at the Philly side of that, right? When it comes to Hurts versus Herbert, I understand what's happening. Hurts versus Jaden Daniels, I understand what's happening. Hurts losing out to Jared Goff is flatly insane. It is unimaginable to me that we would do, Hurts is a system merchant and Jared Goff is better than him. I don't know what planet we are living on where that's a thing. Not one that I'm living on. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP. Jared Goff had a Super Bowl appearance. Remember that game? You napped during most of it, so maybe you didn't. Come on now. And that's why it would be hard to get to Detroit at the current numbers. I think that's why it would be hard to get to Detroit. You're getting, again, if you'll notice within the Super Bowl market, right? Detroit has some similarities to, Baltimore, Buffalo, didn't reach their ultimate goal, don't have Super Bowl pedigree, but they have Super Bowl expectations, and you're getting 11-1 for Detroit compared to 7-1 for Buffalo, or you're getting, compared to 650 for Baltimore. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, not the level of turnover, right, in the coordinator room. I think that number should be more. With all that said, love the Lions tonight, -1.5. I really do. I actually lean under in this game at 33.5. I think DJU is going to be awful tonight. I think Trey Lance is going to be significantly worse than everybody expects. I think Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld, which was the 1-2 combination Detroit went at it with last year in the preseason, will be very good in this preseason. They were good in the final 2 games of the 3 that they played. And with all of the things that I just said, I really believe Dan Campbell wants to win every single game he plays in. And I think Dan Campbell takes this year as personal as any coach in football is taking a season, because we're hearing a lot about, what's it going to be without Ben Johnson? And Dan Campbell probably believes I'm the one who built this up. And I'm going to start right away by putting a win up on the board in the Hall of Fame game. I'm laying the 1.5. In-game live is next.